Welcome to the Explainer. So, have you ever been sitting right there at your kitchen table, just looking over your retirement statement or checking your bank app, and then you casually open up the news, only to get hit with this sudden sinking feeling in your stomach? You read some headline talking about how fantastic the average working person is doing right now, and suddenly you feel totally inadequate. You quietly close out the tab, put your statement away in a drawer, and just kind of assume you failed somewhere along the line. Well, today, we're going to figure out exactly why that feeling is happening and really dive into how averages hide real wealth. Because those numbers making you feel so incredibly behind, they are completely masking the financial reality in this country.
$167,000. According to recent data, this is the supposedly average American retirement account balance. Now, let's picture a guy named Desmond. Desmond is 41 years old, he installs HVAC systems in Dayton, Ohio, and for all intents and purposes, he is the most statistically normal guy in America. When Desmond sees this $167,000 number, he instantly feels like he missed some crucial meeting in his 20s that literally everybody else was invited to.
And it begs the question, are you falling behind? It's this nagging question that haunts so many everyday hardworking folks. It validates all of your anxiety about your own money and sets up this huge mystery. I mean, if that is really the average, why does your bank account look so vastly different? Well, let's dive into this, because there's actually a massive statistical trick happening here. And I promise you, once you see it, you're never going to be able to unsee it.
Section 1. The Wealth Illusion.
Okay, here is the actual reality, $44,000. According to Vanguard's data, looking at millions of real-life accounts, this is the true median retirement balance for a normal 41-year-old guy like Desmond. The gap between that $167,000 expectation and this $44,000 reality is just massive. Now, here's the crazy part. Both of these numbers are technically true. Nobody's actively lying to you. But the space between those two numbers is probably the most expensive piece of misinformation in your financial life.
Section 2. Mean versus median math. Let's break down the math. When financial headlines use the word average, they're almost always using what statisticians call the mean. That's where they add up everybody's money, divided by the number of people, and boom, print that number. But the thing is, that metric gets completely distorted by extreme, top-tier wealth. The median, on the other hand, is literally the person standing dead center in a lineup. Half the country has more than them, half the country has less. The median absolutely does not care what the billionaire standing at the very front of the line is holding.
Let me show you exactly what I mean. On one side, we have Desmond, our HVAC installer, with his $44,000. And on the other side is Gerald. Gerald's a 63-year-old orthodontist from Scottsdale, and he has about $2.1 million in his retirement accounts. Now, Gerald is not the villain here, right? He earned good money, he invested it. Good for him. But Gerald and a few million wealthy folks just like him are quietly being averaged in with everyone else. Gerald is the whole reason that headline says the average is $167,000. And the funny thing is, he has absolutely no idea that he is actively making Desmond feel like a failure. Just one massive outlier completely wrecks the average for the rest of us.
Think about it like this. Let's say you put 9 regular workers making $50,000 a year in a room, and then a billionaire walks in. Well, suddenly, the average net worth in that room is over $100 million. On paper, you're looking at 10 millionaires, but in reality, 9 of those folks are still going home wondering how they're going to pay for a busted transmission. It's a simple analogy, but it perfectly hits the nail on the head as to why the mean is just a totally useless ruler for ordinary people to use.
Section 3. The Debt Mask.
Now, if everyone isn't actually rich, why does it look like they are? Take this quote from an 18-year-old who was drowning in debt because she financed a $46,000 Jeep. She was literally working multiple side hustles just to scrape together $1,200 a month for the car note and warranties. And she said, just because you're broke doesn't mean you can feel broke. Wow, that brilliantly captures the psychology behind lifestyle creep. People are so terrified of looking poor that they literally borrow money from their future selves just to keep up appearances today.
And keeping up that image, it comes with a remarkably steep price tag, $770. That is the average monthly payment for a new car in America right now. Think about that. If you took that same $770 a month and invest it at an 8% annual return over 40 years, it would compound to roughly $2.4 million. The average American isn't actually too poor to become a millionaire. They're just actively giving away millions of dollars in compound interest by financing depreciating cars on 84-month loans. As a result, total American household debt just crossed an absolutely mind-boggling $18.8 trillion. And guys, that's not a pile of luxury yachts. We're talking $13 trillion in housing, $1.5 trillion in cars just to get back and forth to work, another $1.5 trillion in college degrees, and over $1 trillion sitting on credit cards. That shiny, flashy wealth you see out on the street, the brand new SUVs, the remodeled kitchens, the Instagram vacations, it's mostly financed. It's not actually owned. We're looking at an entire country putting its survival and its lifestyle on layaway.
So what happens behind closed doors when the bill comes due? Federal Reserve data shows that roughly 37% of Americans cannot cover a $400 emergency in cash. And we're not talking about a massive medical crisis here. We're talking about 4 new tires or a root canal. When that happens, it goes straight onto a credit card. And with the average interest rate on those cards hovering around 22%, Americans are paying a staggering $160 billion a year just in credit card interest alone. That is essentially a massive convenience fee that society pays for not having an extra $400 laying around, trapping them in this endless cycle of paying off the broke versions of their past selves.
And sadly, it's not just big, one-off emergencies anymore. We read about Renata, who is a 29-year-old dental hygienist making $58,000 a year. She actually has to use those buy now, pay later apps to split her regular grocery bill into 4 payments. She isn't buying frivolous stuff. It's just that payday's on Friday and her kid needs to eat on Tuesday. She's literally doing arithmetic across 4 different phone screens just to figure out what day of the week she's allowed to buy a pack of chicken. And she is far from alone in this. Nearly 29% of the people using these microloan apps are using them to finance basic, everyday groceries.
Section 4. Your real financial ruler.
Okay, so let's cut through the noise. We're back to the mean versus median, but this time we're looking at total household net worth. The mean average in the US is over $1 million. Over $1 million. There's Gerald the orthodontist again, dragging that average sky high. But the median, the actual dead center middle household, is sitting at $192,900. Even when we measure the whole shebang of total net worth, the top 10% creates this phantom millionaire average that leaves the middle class feeling completely inadequate.
But honestly, we need to go one step further to find your true, real-life financial ruler. Step 1, we start with that median net worth of roughly $192,000. Step 2, we have to strip out home equity. Why? Well, because you literally cannot eat your kitchen cabinets. You can't spend your roof during a medical crisis unless you sell your house and end up with nowhere to live. So step 3 is revealing what's left, the true, liquid safety net that ordinary folks actually have to fall back on.
$57,900. When you take away the house that you sleep inside and probably still owe the bank for, this is the real median net worth of the American middle class. This is the entire cash cushion the middle of the country has to cover a layoff, a bad medical diagnosis, emergencies, and literally decades of retirement. That right there, that's the real number.
So now that you know the truth, what do you do about it? How do you measure real wealth and protect yourself? First up, stop using the mean. Anytime you hear average on the news, ask yourself who's average and realize you're being compared to statistical outliers. Second, just ignore finance lifestyles. Seriously, the people zooming past you aren't necessarily richer than you, they're probably just deeply in debt. And third, automate your savings to change your default behavior. The most successful wealth-building strategies work because you don't even have to think about them. Set your money to invest automatically long before you ever get the chance to spend it.
Look, you are not behind. You were just handed a ruler that was built crooked on purpose, designed by a system that actively profits off of your financial insecurity. So, I want to leave you with this. Are you still measuring your life with a crooked ruler? I think it's time to finally let go of the financial shame, stop comparing yourself to statistical ghosts, and start building your wealth based in reality. Thanks for joining me on this explainer. Keep questioning the numbers, and I'll catch you next time.